You're worse than Maya Lansky. And you'll eat like fucking hair off the floor. You won't bust into that safe, will you?
There's no safe. This guy.
You won't bust.
This is my favorite thing.
Dog,
This is my favorite
will
thing.
not bust into that safe.
As I'm driving, I told Beth, I'm going over to see Joey. We're going to do a podcast. And she goes, does he still think you have $1 million in a safe? I go, of course.
Please.
I go,
Dog,
of course
he'll hold on. They'll
he-
put a gun to his wife's head and say, we're going to shoot her. Where's the safe? Dog, he'll be sweating bullets. He won't break with it. He won't break with it till you cut a toe off or something.
Joey is convinced. He is convinced that I have $1 million underneath my bed.
I'm telling you, he does. And he hasn't told his wife or that. I don't give a fuck. It just makes me laugh.
So, but what makes you think
He'll hold
that?
on to it to the end.
He thinks I got $1 million.
What makes you think that?
I just know him. I just know how he operates
know
his
his
shit.
type?
Dog, he showed me a $50 bill one time that he had for like a year and a half. That I gave him. He's like,
that is
remember,
suspicious.
remember that 50 you showed me? He's
That
like, yeah.
is the biggest load of shit I have ever heard in my entire
That's when he was
life.
my landlord. And I used to pay him rent, and I was always short.
Wait a second. You never once paid rent. You never
My God.
paid a
My fucking God.
You lived in the back house.
In the back house, like an immigrant. I loved it. It was great back there.
You lived in the. I saw Joe Diaz get beat up by a transgender guy with an umbrella. Dude, remember when that guy, you were trying to escort him out of the club because he was working at the club, my club, and we had it was called Fetish Night. So there were these two transgender dudes, and they were both dressed as women, and they had umbrellas. Well, they started to fight with each other. So I was like, Joey, because he was like, I need some work. And I was like, all right. So he was working the door. I go, Joe, you got to go break that up. And so he's breaking. He's like, come on, guys. Come on, we got to go. And they're like, stop it. And they're hitting him with his umbrellas. These little twirly Asian umbrellas. He was laughing his ass off as he's white. He's like, don't stop hitting me with the umbrella. Stop it.
That is funny.
And then the DJ for that night used to pull up in a hearse and pull all of his equipment out of the hearse.
That was the old Lobo Loco.
Lobo Loco, yeah.
If those walls could talk. And I've told Felicia that I lived on the office above it. I paid the guy $1.25 and had no bathroom, so I had to shit off the balcony.
Yeah.
And piss off the balcony.
And the guy was like, are you living here? And you're like, no.
Nah, I just do my business. But here's the funniest thing. When I was thinking
On the balcony.
When I was thinking of you coming on the show, I was thinking about that day that we were going to Moscow, Idaho, and you would bartend lunch in the daytime. Uh-huh. And I had to go from the bar, like I had to meet you because we were getting a rental car or something. Right. And we had met this guy at lunch at Lobo Loco that used to come in every day, and we talked sports. And one day he said to me, can you take my action? I don't think you remember this story. And I said, sure, I'll take your action. I had no money. And every week I would beat him. Like the first week I got him for like $800. Yeah. Then the second week I got him for like $900. And this was like a lot of money back then. Like I was an open micer, broke, living on a floor in an office, and I got this sucker. And I'm sweating it out every week, taking the guy's bets. And finally, after the third week, we're going to Moscow, Idaho. He's got to pay us. That's how we were going. He was going to pay me. And he gets in, he's like, listen, I want to meet the bookmaker right now.
I remember that.
You remember that? He's like, I know there's no bookie. You're sitting on my fucking action. And then it was, I think, Frank the Lip.
Yeah,
Frankie the Lip. Frankie the Lip talked him into giving me the money. He goes, I'll give you half. Fuck it, I'll take half because I'm not going to sit here and argue with you.
Do you remember how he got that nickname, the Lip?
No.
Because he used to get that big herpy right on his upper lip. And I was like, look at you. And I used to tell him, man, you can't come into work because he was a bartender. Handsome dude.
Good looking
guy. But he would come in. I'm like, dude, you can't come in when you're the Lip. Like, the Lip can't be serving people. How you doing? Do you want some lime with that? And you got a Band-Aid for that? And the lip got big, too.
Really?
Yeah. I saw the Lip.
When you went up there, you told me.
He was working...
Excuse me, my vibrator just went on.
What the fuck that is?
Did you hear about the new vibrator? The new vibrator that now has 16 gigs of memory in it.
What?
So
Shut up.
Yeah. So it doubles and you don't plug it. It doesn't have batteries. You plug it in with a USB to your computer.
Right.
And you can plug it in with a USB to your computer, and it has 16 gigs of memory, and you can watch the porn that you want to watch that's on your vibrator while you're using it. And somebody should get that for you for your next birthday.
So you can.
It's got the memory. You USB it into your computer, and the porn that you want to watch comes up.
Coincides with like if the porn thrusts, then the vibrator.
No. But let's say you're.
That's genius.
Genius.
Say you're
Genius.
Say you're in the guys in police outfits on horses. Well, then your porn with the police outfit is playing as you basically tune your vibrator into the porn you like, and it plays it on your computer for you.
Wow.
There's also a new vibe. We talked about it on the show this week. There's also a new vibrator that doubles as jewelry some people are wearing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So maybe that might be a good stocking stuffer too.
I don't have a problem with that. Just what kind of jewelry?
Well, I mean,
earrings,
so it'd be like a
necklace.
bracelet that doubles. You just take it off and whack yourself
and then
up.
you go. Remember those bracelets? If you go like that, it goes like
it pops out.
Yeah.
That's amazing that they would have a bracelet just in case you have that urge to fucking whack that noodle at lunchtime.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can just instead of like, and also it's less embarrassing at the airport because I'm sure if you bring like a vibrator or a dildo in a bag, that's embarrassing. But if it doubles as the bracelet.
But how deep would your Jimmy be if you had to travel with a fucking dildo? Like, I know one guy in my life that would travel with whack-off, his whack-off bag. And in that bag included magazines, like an old pair of stockings from some hooker. He had, like, DVDs. And I'm not kidding you. I wish I was lying to you guys. The best was one day his wife was coming to see him, and he actually came into my room and said, "Take this." And I go, "What is it?" And he goes, "It's my whack-off bucket." He traveled with a whack-off box with lubes and socks and everything in there. This is fucking crazy.
But you don't need that shit anymore. Like, you don't need a magazine. Anybody who's got a DVD of porn is weird.
It's weird.
You just got the internet.
Why have witnesses?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Your neighbor could be walking by and all of a
Did
sudden
you ever have a whack-off bag?
No.
Oh,
I have a
really?
whack-off hand.
Yeah,
I come into the hand, wipe it on the mattress, and it's back to business.
I will tell you, one of the kids didn't quite figure out how to use private browser on the computer. So I went to my computer, my kids. I went to the computer and I looked at the history, and one of the websites was Round and Brown, and I was like, Round and Brown. So I clicked on it, and it was just big black chicks. So I was like, "Oh!" I called him in. I'm like, "Hey, were you using my computer?" And he was like, "Nah." And I was like, "What's Round and Brown?" He was like, "I don't know." I said, "Why don't you sit down? Let's take a look." And he was like, "No, I don't want to sit down and look." I go, "No. I mean, like I said, if you didn't do it and I didn't do it, like we got to figure out who's on the computer, and I don't know what it is." I go, "Sit down. Let's take a look at the website." And he goes, "Oh," and he sits down, and it came up. And he was like, "Yeah, that's porn. It's not me." I'm like, "Well, then we need to take a look at what videos these are." And he was like, "All right, it was it was me." And I said, "Stupid, if you had just gone down a little more, you would have seen Big Naturals. You could have clicked on that. That's my site. I would have never even known you were on the computer."
We're back, bitches. We're back. Beauty the Beast motherfucking podcast for Alicia Michaels.
Joey Diaz.
What's up, you sexy motherfucker?
Oh my God! Today, right now, at this moment, 10 minutes before you told that wonderful father-son bonding moment, is the first time I sat down. Like I've been quite busy, and you too have been quite busy, right?
Absolutely. I went to physical therapy today. The knees are round and kicking. I worked yesterday. Same shit, bro. Every day we're just putting it together here. You know what I'm saying? Not much. Every fucking day. This is what you do till you fucking die. Because even if I was rich and retired, I'd still be rocking the house every fucking day. You'd be doing something else. Yeah. So I think I wouldn't be on no yacht. I can't fucking relax. So I just get used to it now.
I don't see you on a yacht. I mean, not
unless I'm getting away. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I just don't see you on a yacht
with a butler and shit towards the end. That would be a dream. A
I
butler.
see you on a yacht, like at night, with a gun in your hand.
Oh, picking out fucking weed bales from the fucking Mexican. Yeah. By the way, we have a guest in the studio. My main man, Josh fucking Wolf. What's happening? You? Beautiful, good, great to have you here, man.
Yeah,
long time. Nice.
I know. Now listen, because somebody on Twitter
put us together. Yeah, they were a couple of weeks ago, and I knew it. I was like, I gotta ask him. And all of a sudden, that morning, I looked at it and I go, "That's amazing." I was just thinking about that I should ask him. I didn't know if you had conflicts or something.
No, come on. And then a friend of mine from high school was like, "I can't believe you know Joey Diaz." I'm like, "How do you know Joey Diaz?" She said, "I love his podcast."
Oh, nice.
So,
How about that? Reaching the
Nice.
East Coast.
Yeah, no.
Wow,
We get out
very
there. We
cool.
get out there, man.
I
It's
know.
fun.
I was in San Antonio, and a bunch of people came out, and some listeners came out. And after the show, I leave, and the first show was Valentine's, and it was really awesome. It was totally busy, and the show went great. And I come down, and these two young guys come up to me, and they're like, "Hey, hey," and I'm like, "All right." And then he gives me 2 pictures, and he goes, "I love the podcast." And then he kind of like shyly walked off. And I get in the car, and I open it up, and it's 2 sketches, and one is of a penis, and one is of a vagina. And you know what? It was kind of good and cool in an abstract way.
I was just telling Josh the strength of the podcast. Because now, listen, when I was a kid, I listened to Richard Pryor. We all did, George Carlin. But I never felt like he was my fucking friend. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like when people write me and they're like, "Hey, I'm a fan." I'm like, "No, you're a friend now. We're connected in some way or another." I mean, it's the weirdest thing. When you go to these things now, when you go to do these shows and shit, people come up to you with the weirdest fucking things.
Yeah, but you're doing an hour of truth in their ear.
Yeah, but they'll come up to you and talk to you and go, "I can't believe I'm standing next to you. I listen to your voice every day, every week, 1 hour a day." So it's pretty interesting. I'm happy the people that come out and say hello. And I got like 6 emails and like 10 tweets about you.
Now tell me something. What when they show up at your shows, like what's your demographic? Who's showing up?
All fucking ages. All fucking ages. There's no more demographic because you're hitting with people on an emotional level. So I can have women that come in and say, "We love what you do." I can have guys come in. I don't know where I was doing a show. A pregnant fucking chick came in and was like, "I had to leave the house and listen to this shit today."
Do you remember the very first time I ever saw Joey on stage? Now, Joey and I met in Seattle.
95. June of 95.
The first time I saw him on stage, like he put together a show at the Comedy Underground. Now, at that time, he was maybe going 215, 220. Max. I mean, he was thin.
Yeah.
He'd like to think he could beat me in basketball, too. But he was thin. But suit, 3-piece suit, tie, the whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was still confused. You don't fucking know. You think
And he used to tell this joke. What was the joke about the curtains?
I have no
Yes,
fucking
you.
idea. Wipe your dick on the
yeah.
curtain. That's the worst joke ever.
That was your closer.
That's the worst joke
Yeah,
ever.
he used to do a wipe, and he used to close with that, and I used to close with an Elvis impersonation.
Oh God! If anybody has the tapes, it's terrible.
Oh,
it's
really?
so bad.
Really?
It wasn't that so bad. Like you look at that stuff now, I just throw it the fuck away. But before I put it in the garbage, like I break it, I burn the tape, I pull it out. Like I don't want anybody to bump into that shit.
Chelsea showed on TV the other day? You remember when we did that Young Guns of Comedy, me, Mark, and Tana?
Yeah.
She showed that poster on TV the other day. I'm wearing chaps. I got hair down to here. I'm shirtless with a cowboy hat. Because we thought we would do like a Young Guns of Comedy, and it would bring, we were shirtless and young, so we were like, all right, not only bringing young people, but, you know, it'll bring in girls. Now, back in 95, nobody had any gaydar, so you didn't really know, you know what I mean? No women. It was just a bunch of dudes in like Navy outfits and cowboy hats that came down to see the show. It wasn't. Yeah.
Well, some people had gaydar.
Before I forget.
Yeah, exactly. We did.
Before I forget, it's really weird because Felicia and I always met doing comedy in 94, and I met Josh in 95, and it's so weird that I used to sit there at night when I was an open micer. I met her in Denver, and I would come home at an open mic and look at the magazine. I've told the story, the stand-up magazine that came out of San Francisco. John Fox used to put out a magazine in the 90s called whatever. I know Felicia has a copy somewhere. I used to have all the copies.
It stopped right before I kind of started it. But
No, it was still around in 95.
I know the magazine.
The magazine, Stand Up or something.
It was at the Underground.
At the Underground. In the back of it, it had club listings.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to at night, like after I'd do like 18 minutes in Denver, I would yellow in the clubs that Sunday I was going to be good enough to play in. And here I was in Seattle, which no matter what, like the Comedy Store molded me, but the Underground made me a savage. You know, and people are like, what are you talking about? Well, that was the type of club that if it rained and you were getting ready to go up, if you looked to your left, that table, if they were eating nachos, the people would be watching the stage, but there'd be a huge water bug on their nachos, and the antennas would be moving. This is the experience. Like, it was just damp down there, but what a fucking comedy room, and what it sucked out of you. Like,
I remember we were
Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays,
but he used to go up and Joey used to go up and just tell jokes,
and talk to people,
but and go back and forth on the stage and pacing jokes. And one day, but off stage, he would kill us, as I'm sure you know, hysterical, right? So we were sitting at a Mariners game, and he was running some jokes by me, and I was like, when are you gonna stop telling jokes and just go be who you are off stage, on stage?
Took years, man.
Yeah, because that's the secret.
It takes years, but those stages drew them out of me little by little. Like, I had great sets on that little fucking stage with, it was like on a 6-inch elevation.
Yeah.
We had some great nights back then. I tell people on podcasts about Rita O. The people don't believe the stories. How we ended Rita O was throwing tomato soup at each other at a restaurant on Melrose. Rita O was a girl maybe your size that was really a man.
Yeah.
And became a woman.
But she's your size, but she had the biggest head.
The biggest head you ever seen in your life. And that's how she died, because she would fall. She had equilibrium problems, and she would fall. But she would eat 30 10s in a day. She would eat 30 10-milligram Valiums and drink a quart of vodka and go out to the gay clubs and what was the name of the hill? Queen Anne?
Capitol Hill.
Capitol Hill, and fall off the stage. I mean, here's all these young guys.
With her big head.
With her big head.
She would lean that way and her head
It was, you can't.
Yeah.
You cannot write this shit.
But didn't she die falling down the stairs?
She fell down the stairs at a gay club. And then she had a tumor and whatever.
What about that dude, the cook at Swanee's, who got out of jail and started fucking Rita O and stole her money?
Which guy?
That big muscle dude.
Oh my God! What was the other kid's name that was the cook there that I loved?
With the long hair, Lionel.
Let me tell you something, Felicia Michaels. I've met a lot of characters in my day.
Insane.
But this kid was the real deal. Like, if I see him now, I'd have to give him a hug and a kiss.
Yeah.
He took good care of me like you did. Yeah. He used to have a loft in downtown that people knew you'd go there and party. Like, you could just be driving by and go, you got anywhere to go? No, let's go to Lionel's. And they go to his back thing and throw rocks at his window, and he'd open up. But he also took care of me. Like, if I missed the shuttle over to Josh's, I could stay at his house. So I'd just go in the corner and one night I remember waking up and there's 3 black dudes smoking crack in the fucking corner, and he's up, and I'm like, and I wasn't even mad. I just looked at him. It was like your story when you were in the apartment and the ceiling and they came in. Like, this is the shit that people don't see. Like, I went to bed in the corner thinking tomorrow was going to be a better day. In the middle of the night, I'm awakened by 3 black guys on Lionel who look like Chris Cornell with long hair.
Yeah.
Smoking crack, and he was down for it. Another night he came in and goes, come on, we're going to a party, and they were doing heroin, and some guy was in there saying, heroin is for pussies, fuck. And this was a fucking place that had cages, and the guy had women dancing in the cages at 4 a.m. I'm in there with Lionel, and Lionel's fucking snorting heroin, and I'm sitting there, I don't know what to do. I do like a half a line, I'm all fucked up, and this guy's got a suit on, he's got money, he's yelling, heroin is for pussies. I could do that shit. I'll never forget, there was a beam right there where he was standing, and he goes, give me a line of that. And they gave this guy a line that would kill a fucking bear. And this guy rolled up on a dollar bill, did the line of heroin. He goes, you see, this is for fucking. I mean, he couldn't even say pussy. He just grabbed onto the pole and dropped. And these people kept doing heroin. This guy was just spitting like he got up. Bam, what wasn't that stuff? I mean, this was the environment, and I was an open micer. Like, we were open micers. I still remember that gig the night before I went to jail, when we did that gig in the bar, and we came out, and there was crack people, and I kept, me, you, and Gavin, I kept yelling, crack!
Yeah.
Crack! And we were fucking dying of laughter. They're like, where?
Which trip to jail are we talking about?
Like the first one. December 6th, 1995.
All right, I'm just trying to, you got to be more specific.
Right, when I got in trouble for pulling that. No, this is the time we got into a little shoving match outside the house.
Right.
But today I was thinking about, what do me and Josh going to talk about? One of the classic stories was, Josh pissed me the fuck off. I had gotten a job. We were getting our lift together. Josh was moving to L.A. And I go, Josh, wait 1 fucking week. It was September 22nd. I go, Josh, wait another fucking week. I was working at a company that they had a web page that you could order pizza. from? Do you remember? And they were gonna the big promotion during the football games. They were gonna come up and say, order your pizza now, and if you ordered on the computer, you got 10% off. And these guys had deep pockets. They were paying me like $15 an hour, and I wasn't calling nobody. I was on the phone calling my friends in Jersey. I wasn't selling dick. So they were paying me like $600-700 a week, but they paid me with cash. I didn't have an ID, so he would be my bank. I would give my checks to Josh Wolf, and Josh Wolf would cash them. So I figured I had like 2 checks coming. So finally I break down, I call Carol. I go, Carol, you got to give me a ride to the bank and cash this check. She goes, no problem. So we get in the car. I get in the back seat because I'm not allowed to be with her as it is, right? Yeah. We have restraining orders on each other.
Restraining orders, yes. You didn't know. He and his girlfriend. Here was the best part about. Here was the best.
Fuck Chris Brown and Rihanna. This is the real deal.
The best part about you and your girlfriend, like they would get restraining orders, but then they would still hang out with each other, and they would be in my bar. I'm like, why do you have to fucking leave?
Oh, he would get pissed, Joshua. Why do you bring her here? Though? All these problems he's causing you. So we're in the car. I go to the bank and let's cash the check. And this bitch says to me, you ain't getting shit. You owe me this money. And I go, Carol, don't even fucking get me started today. It's Friday. I need this money. I had a spot at the Underground on Friday night. I need this fucking money. And she's like, I'm not giving it to you. Fuck you. Not one of the lights. I fucking grab her hair and I pull out a handful of hair, like follicles, skin, the whole fucking thing. I go, you better give me my fucking money, Carol. And she's like, you're not getting nothing. Go fuck yourself. I'm calling the police. You're going to call the police on me. You got my fucking check in your hand. And I just fucking pulled her hair. She went to like high gouge me and I fucking grabbed her by the hair. And I pulled out this chunk of hair. And she's like, call the police. She gets out this car wash and she starts yelling, call the police, call the police. And there was a hamburger joint down the corner called the Hurricane. I run the fuck out of there, and there was a movie theater where I seen Pulp Fiction up the corner, and I'm running, and this is Seattle. These cocksuckers ain't got nothing to do. They show up with helicopters. They're driving back and forth looking for me. I hide in the garbage dump behind the Hurricane. I'm in there with hamburgers. There's a cat in there. Oh, it was horrible. And I had like 84 fucking cents. So the only guy I know is Rico. So for years,
Rico?
Yeah, big black Rico.
Yeah, with
the spider on his face, who was good friends with what's his name? He used to bust his balls. The guy who died. You know, the guy Mitch Hedberg used to always bring Rico on stage. Rico Suave, big black guy. I took him to Montana with an all-white restaurant, and he was a Buddhist or something. He got on his hands and knees and started praying. I'm like, Rico, you gotta get up. You gotta get up. These are cowboys. They gotta kill us, Rico. You gotta get up. People are looking, Rico. So here's big black Rico. I go, Rico, pull up to the Hurricane. The cops are looking for me. They're fucking everywhere. Pull up, and he pulled. I go, you got to pull up there. There was no cell phones then. I'm like, you got to pull up there at 5 after 5 on the dot, and I'll run out. I run out, and Rico's down the fucking corner going like this. He's 6'6", 9,000 pounds.
With a spider.
With a spider on his face and his beard.
Oh, really?
And he's waving back and forth. And the cops see him. And I jump back in the dumpster. I sweat it out. I fucking sweat it out, bitch. I sit in that dumpster till about 9:30. I miss my spot. I'm jonesing for a fucking blast. I'm starving. I finally get out of the dumpster. Whew, there's no cops. I walk up the block, and they're hiding in the fucking bushes. And they took me down and arrested me for fucking pulling a goddamn hair. They let me out the next day because they knew.
But what about the other time?
What other time? The best time. This is classic. Tell her.
Okay, he says to me, Josh Wolf. Now, he always calls me by my first and last name.
This is a Monday morning, though, if you're going to tell that story.
But wait. You come to me, you're like, I've never done ecstasy before.
Right.
Do you think you can get me some? I'm like, yeah, I can get you some. You're all right. You were like, I'm going to go to Carol's house. I want some ecstasy. I'm going to fuck the shit out of her. I'm like, doesn't she have a restraining order against you? Yeah, that doesn't matter. We don't really listen to that. I'm like, oh, okay. Like at this point, I don't even know. So he goes over to her house. Right before he goes in, pops his little piece of ecstasy. Goes in. They're doing whatever they're doing. Well, Carol had told her neighbor, if you see Joey come to the house, call the cops. Well, the neighbor was home and saw Joey come to the house. Okay. So they're fucking. There's a knock on the door. Carol goes out, and she's like, it's like, the cops open up, and Carol's like, no, we're okay. And the cop's like, no, you got to open up. Joey, who was a little bigger than 220 at the time, hides under the bed. Carol told me that she walked back into the room and it looked like the mattress was breathing.
It really was.
Every time he would breathe,
was.
his belly would lift the mattress.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad.
Right?
The listeners are laughing because when I edit the podcast, it's always like, so I know everyone gets that. That is so funny.
The very first, so he starts to trip on ecstasy and gets put in the first time he starts to trip on ecstasy, he's handcuffed in the back of a police cruiser on his way to jail.
With no shirt on.
No shirt on. So
shirt on.
He's put in jail on ecstasy for the first time, no shirt on, just hanging out with a bunch of dudes. How you doing?
They're fingerprinting me. I remember I couldn't feel my fingers. I'm like, officer, press hard.
You trapped that. When she told me, I go, what happened? She goes, I thought he said he was going to hide, and I went back in, and it looked like the mattress was breathing. And I was like, oh.
That is so funny.
This is just, this was an 18-month period in Seattle.
Where we also had this stupid plan where we were going to rob. Remember that guy who sold weed? And you were like, he's stupid. We've actually sat in front of his house one day, and you were like, he's stupid. He keeps his money out and his weed out. And then at one point that we actually sat out there, and we pulled up. I go, are we really going to commit armed robbery? And you were like, nah, let's go. But we sat there, and it was like it was the first time we had actually thought about it. We were like, wait a second, is we doing that? And then you were like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea. So we drove away. But you were like, this guy's stupid. I buy my weed from him all the time. He's got his money out, the weed. I walk in there, we got $1,000. I'm like, okay.
My God, it was such a crazy, crazy open mic life. Like this was, and at the same time, Seattle's booming. Pearl Jam's huge. Soundgarden's huge.
Wait, remember Chris Cornell's sister used to make our coffee. She had the best voice of the family. We used to go to Larry's in the Central and see, Alice in Chains sitting at the bar. They would hop on stage and sing, and it was good music. The Presidents of the United States of America, you remember that band? They were just starting when we were up there. Yeah, it was good, man. The music was fantastic. Here's the best thing I liked about, and I do miss. The one thing I miss about comedy then is there was not only a camaraderie, like we hung out, but there was a burning need to get on stage and write new jokes.
Every night.
I needed to write new jokes. I needed to try. And I don't want to sign up on a Tuesday at the Laugh Factory, but I know what they're doing. And a part of me is like that. I kind of miss that part of being a stand-up. Of wanting so badly to get on stage and wanting so badly to write new material.
For free.
What I mean? For nothing.
For free. Just old school, just that desire.
We used to go to that Hurricane Cafe, the one where you hid in the trash can, after the Underground and sit at a booth and write till 2 or 3 in the morning. Whoever was done at the open mic. Mm-hmm. I kind of missed that.
I lived in Denver, and I remember there was nothing. There was the Comedy Works on Tuesday and then a couple cowboy bars. And I moved to Seattle, and you were out every fucking night. Yeah. Laura Crocker, who hated me.
Me too.
I would do guest spots everywhere.
Pat Wilson,
the other chick. Pat Wilson was great because
she hated me.
She had a gig on Friday, and I would never show up to her gigs, but she'd never pay you cash. She'd pay you with a check. So I would always book her gigs and not show and still get a check in the mail. I wondered when she was going to catch on. I mean, it was like the best was the guy from Giggles that I would take a draw from.
Yeah.
He had Thursday night, Friday, Saturday. I would take a draw from him Friday, and he would forget on Saturday and pay me. And then I'd call him Monday, and I go, can you book me? And he'd go, yeah, when was the last time you were at the club? 2 years ago. All right, come back.
Did you hear about John Fox, the comic?
What happened?
He's good. I saw his video online. He's got, this is the downer, but he says he's got 2 weeks to a month to live. That's it. Colon cancer, but he wasn't getting himself checked out. He posted a thing for comics online just to say it doesn't matter if you don't have insurance or you have to, after the age of 40, get yourself checked out. But yeah, he looks horrible. It's online. I'll send it to you. You remember John? I mean, John did the same hour of jokes. You must know John Fox. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, but I know who he is.
He's done the same hour of jokes for 20 years. That's what he's been doing.
He's one of the guys that I hate to say something. He's one of the guys that when I came out to California, to LA, and I watched him one night, it scared me. Like, it scared me because I could have ended up like him.
Yeah.
That guy had the opportunity of a lifetime. He opened up for Dangerfield for years. He could have done 1,000 different
He
things
liked
with
the
his
party
life. But the partying took him over, you know, to the part where he was living in Chicago, and you know, he would get on stage and he would get drunk and people would finish his jokes for him, and that scares the shit out of me. That has always, to be on a triple run when I'm 50, I might as well shoot myself. It was like a waste of a fucking career, you know what I'm saying? And I liked him. I liked his jokes, you know. I mean, I watched all his early stuff. He did everything in the fucking 80s. Yeah. You know, I mean, Felicia took his fucking crown. She did everything in the fucking 90s, Felicia. How many fucking shows you tape in the 90s? A lot. You were on fucking fire. And, you know, you watch these videos, these things are out. And then to hear that story is very...
he just didn't take care of himself. I got to tell you, you know what?
That could have been me, dog.
Do you know what scared me into not being stupid was it always scared me that at age 18, one of my kids would look back and be embarrassed of me. That was the one thing where I was like, that is my biggest fear, is that they would be embarrassed of me. Like, I look at Charlie Sheen and all these people, like, you know, when your kids are old enough, they're going to be embarrassed of you. Like, how are you? There's a certain level of respect that I want them to have for me, and that has always kept me from doing something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that thing, that's so important to me, that they are never embarrassed of who I am.
You live and you learn, man. You see it. You seen it early on. I kept bucking around, and I paid for it dearly, you know. But at the meantime, you know, you just keep working and plugging along. You know, he didn't stop, John Fox.
No.
And there's a lot of comics that didn't stop, and God bless them. This is a business. It's a fucking business. As much as, you know, I love getting on stage for free now, because when I have to negotiate for money, and I fucking drives me crazy.
Yeah,
I just want to get on stage some nights and just talk and leave and not have to deal with twitting where the fuck I am or whatever. I miss that. That's what we had in Seattle. And dog, I mean, we were fucking hungry in Seattle. I mean, there was months when nobody had fucking dough. You know, nobody had fucking dough. I mean, you didn't have $1 million then. You had like $200 in the safe. Then remember, I used to run the sports betting service from upstairs.
Yeah,
the same guy gave me $800, and you used to have to go get the Western Unions for me.
Do you remember that Korean mafia guy that worked at the before it was Lobo Loco? Do you remember those two, the Korean and the Japanese guy that owned the place?
What was his name?
Aki. Aki was the Japanese guy.
Aki.
The Korean guy was Leo. Just disappeared one day. But he used to have gun, like he gave the bouncers guns just in case anybody that was coming for him, if they had to come through that door, they had to get to the bouncers first. It was a scare. My ex, who sometimes had a little bit of tunnel vision, and I'm not gonna. Sometimes she did things that were a little odd. There was one night a guy came up to the front door of the club, and he was too drunk, and they threw him out. So he comes back with a gun. So now there's 6 bouncers with guns on him. Now, I'm working a bar, right? Downstairs. It was an upstairs, downstairs. And I hear just people scrambling and running. I hear people were under tables and diving over the bar. Some people were sprinting downstairs. So Malia, who was mad at me at the time, and so the 2 doormen are like this, at the door. 2 feet away from the guy with the gun, like this. Malia walks right past them. Stops next to Brian, one of the bouncers who had a gun drawn. Is Josh here? Brian is pointing a gun at somebody. There's nobody talking. The entire place is frozen. All you hear is, you fucking drop your gun. You drop your gun. You fucking drop it. Malia walks right past all 3 of them. Is Josh here? He didn't call me back. And Brian was like, what? What the fuck? Are you serious? Is he here? He's downstairs. She was like, you don't have to be so rude. Walked past, stepping over bodies of people that are under... So she gets down to me and she's like, what the fuck is your problem? And I was like, are you okay? She goes, what? I go, there are people with guns upstairs. She was like, upstairs here? I was like, oh my God.
This is a weird fucking place.
There was the video of her. You know, we have like cameras up all over the place. Of her talking to Brian while in the middle of the 3 guns. Asking her where I was.
So they had cameras there. Thank God they weren't there.
They didn't have cameras back there.
No, they didn't have cameras back there. We used to do comedy at a bar that had a parrot on the stage behind you. Okay, that when you were on stage, every like 3 of your jokes, the parrot would go, wah!
That was the worst.
Do you understand me?
That
like,
was the worst.
This was a comedy thing that was it just sits, and I never went back to Seattle. Granted, I have a warrant or whatever.
You can't go back.
But
to
I
Seattle.
would never, like, looking back at it now, like I wouldn't go back because I wouldn't want to ruin that was as weird as that time was. It was so indebted in my heart. Like, that was knowing to be broke, to get up in the morning and walk to Swanee's broke, and they give you a soda and whatever they were eating with that the Filipino bartender who was a dick to us, and even, what I remember the most about Lobo Loco was doing a spot on a Wednesday at the Underground and them giving you like $50 and going, I'm going to go to Lobo Loco and get a package. There was a dealer that walked between us, and I remember walking to Lobo Loco and there was a private party, and it was a private party from the guy's wife from Nirvana. Do you remember? They had a party for there, or was it
at the Phoenix?
At the Phoenix. Yeah. And I remember that they let me in and seeing her fucking rocked. Like, she looked like she ate 1,000 Quaaludes, did 22 fucking Vicodins.
She probably did.
She was fucked up. Like, that's how real it was down there.
Kurt Cobain lived, when I lived on Leshire. You weren't in town yet.
No, I wasn't there.
When I lived in Leshire, I lived right on Lake Washington, and I was literally 8 houses from him. So when he shot himself, I still had my New York driver's license. And they weren't letting people down on the street. So I couldn't get to my house for clothes or my dog or anything. But I used to see him out by the lake when it was 85, 90 degrees, wool jacket, sweating, big glasses, skinny, just sitting there, hoodie. And I was like, that dude is going to die really fucking soon. He was in bad shape, man. I don't care what anyone says. And he used to sign, when people used to ask for autographs, he used to sign, like, on a napkin, his autograph was "Go fuck yourself," and he would hand it back to him. I mean, it was a weird time.
I remember being in Alki, getting up with fucking Crazy Carol and walking, and seeing fucking thousands of people at that restaurant. And it was because Eddie Vedder was eating breakfast. And people would tap through the fucking glass, Eddie Vedder. It was just amazing. By the way, one time most of the times I got arrested were at Alki Beach or Carroll. Remember when I put sugar in the gas tank?
What was going on?
That piece of pussy had, it was at a weird time in your life. You look back, I just got divorced. I was very insecure. I was starting comedy. I had no fucking loot. I didn't know what my next move was. And all of a sudden, here's a girl who lets you light her asshole on fire. That's sanity when you have nothing. And all of a sudden we get into, it was just too much. And my anger then, and it was just.
Did you write that down? Sanity, when you have nothing, is finding a girl who will let you let her out.
That's sanity. That was sanity, because that was, my head was just, I was losing my daughter. My head was in so many different directions.
That was a big thing for you then.
That was a big thing. It was eating me alive. There was months I could send the money. There was months I couldn't. The mother was breaking my balls. Was fucking with me. So I have all this shit. Now I got this fucking chick who, lights your dick on fire with butane and sucks your balls. And she's fucking with me. So I thought I had like a home with this girl now. So it was just weird. Thank God for the comedy. Thank God for the comedy, because I would have killed somebody. That's the movement at the Underground that night where I got into the fight with those two guys
for slapping
Ron Reed, and the cops arrested me for a probation violation.
No, but our buddy was there. Remember our buddy, the cop,
the Puerto
Ricky.
Rican cop. That's who saved my fucking life that night. I'm on stage and there's cops waiting for me to arrest me with my shirt ripped and shit. Felicia Michaels. This is combat comedy, and then it didn't end. And then Josh Wolf said, "I'm going to L.A." and he left me up there for 3 months like a fucking orphan. Right, I just banged it out up there, and it was great, But I knew I had to come down, so I come down here, and we move into 1417 North Vista, which was like when you go to high school and you're a fuck up and you can't get into college, so you go into continuing education.
Yeah,
this is what this building was.
Remember those heroin addicts that lived next door
to
me?
The two
those
chicks.
girls?
This is crazy. Well, how about the Russian mobster with the dog downstairs?
But
if you got fucked up and pressed 2 and you walked in, he had his door open too. It was. What
his
about the
Rottweiler? He used to feed him. He used to put steroids into his raw meat. Did you know that? This Rottweiler was How big was that Rottweiler?
Fucking gigantic. Just
Massive.
yoked.
And
when he would jump on the balcony, you would feel it like.
How many drug dealers lived in that building?
92. What about the chick who stashed?
Every floor, if you knock. What about the dude who was on Star Trek Voyager? He was a Vulcan or whatever, and he was a little weird. He never took his makeup off because he liked the way it made him look. He thought he was cool. So there was this dude who would come out to empty his trash, and he would have just a robe on, just regular feet, robe, carrying his trash, Vulcan makeup. And you were like, what the? And he ended up killing a hooker at Plumber Park with a samurai sword. Yeah. And the cops arrested him in his Vulcan makeup. Dragged him out.
Serious?
Yeah. That was a crazy building.
Listen to me. This was the continued, and it's 100 yards from
El Compadre.
And right behind 1440. This was like I remember being in the car outside, being so coked up that I couldn't even go into your house. I'd have to put the seat back and just hide in my car for an hour to come down.
You remember? No, Joe used to stay at my house sometimes.
On the couch.
Do you remember that time when Jacob, my son, was like 3, and so he's going. I see him running around the house like this, and I notice that he's shaking something in his hand like this, and I hear it going, and I go, "Come here, buddy. What is that?" A little package of Cokes that fell out of Joey's pants on the couch that Jacob found.
He was pissed for a year.
Oh, I was like, dude, you cannot.
Who the fuck knew I'd have 50 packages in my car? Who knew if you drop one? I'd have one from this guy, one from that guy. We had the Mexican on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
That was heavy metal, and he
the
gave
white Rasta guy.
The white Rasta guy. Then we had a girl that hid the drugs for everybody, that had no chin but the biggest tits in North America and sucked a tremendous pipe. When you gave her 3 bumps, she would suck your dick for 2 hours.
I think that no chin thing really helped.
Oh, that no chin thing. That no chin thing creates like a different suction.
It really helps.
It tickles the top of your nutsack. And this chick was a soldier because she'd suck your dick. Most chicks suck your dick and you're done. Now you got to fuck them. She would suck your dick and tell you, stay, I'll suck it again.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'll stay for a little while. I mean, it was classic. This building, you couldn't write this shit. The heroin chicks that wouldn't take showers, the lesbians, because I think the heroin would clog their pores.
Yeah.
They always had sunglasses on.
No showers. You know what they ended up doing? You know what are those? Those Omaha steaks where they drive around and deliver the steaks. So they ended up starting to work for Omaha Steaks, but they're heroin addicts, and the steaks would just go bad in the van. So you go downstairs into the parking garage, and it smells like a morgue down there, and that fucking van had like 3-year-old steaks in the back.
This was fucking crazy.
Wow.
Oh my god!
This
that
was
place,
just.
Now, you remember the landlady?
Yeah, I just see her. She's a caterer now.
Yeah.
And she's an enormous ball buster when you see her.
Is she?
Yeah, she busts my balls for hours when I see her now on a job, because I'm her buddy.
Right.
So she torments me. Nice lady.
Yeah.
She's working on big shows though.
That's what she said.
Yeah, she's working on big time shows. So
But I remember moving down from Seattle. So you're little, you're like, oh, LA. So I remember, like, I moved in, and it's when I learned this is the only city where, the name of the apartments, they make them sound like way better, like the New Yorker, the Condor. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh. So this was called the luxury apartments. Well, I was like, I gotta fucking live at the luxury apartments. Not so luxurious.
towards the end, the girl moved in. That was fucking banging. And one night I see her on a movie showing her tits and her pussy. This chick was banging.
You know where I saw her showing her tits?
Where?
Seventh Vale.
Yeah,
she used to strip.
Right. She had a little boy. She was banging, but she used to go out by the pool and put like if she was a size 3, she put on a size -8 bikini, where it just covered the clit and the asshole. The fucking hair would be out. She was a monster, Felicia. Big tits, French, Canadian, or something.
Yeah, and she always had a bruise or two on her ass. Yeah.
So
yeah. I remember my brother would be like, "How many bruises she got on her ass today?" I'm like, "She's got like 6 bruises on her ass." How do you, like, not handprint bruises either, like not like but like a bruise, like someone was throwing a rock at her or something.
And then involved in all this, we had our comedy careers. We went out every night. You know, sometimes you went out and I babysat Jacob, which is a scary thought. And then, but enthralled in all this, before when you said it, that your son was watching a black website, you have a brother that dates black chicks. And I remember,
he's only ever dated black.
And I remember one time we're in the apartment and we're stoned, we're giggling, and you're like, look at this fucking phone bill. Who keeps calling fucking Compton, right? Yeah, at that time they would charge you for
at that time they were charging for local calls, and we were counting every penny.
Every fucking penny.
I mean, listen, at that point in time, there was me, 3 kids, and a Saint Bernard in one bedroom.
And your and your brother and the
He lived in the
broad
back
and
room.
me on the couch.
All right.
Wow.
So, and then I used to make, in the morning, a lot of times, I would make 1 pot of pasta, and I would have 3 smaller pots with sauces. So 1 sauce was breakfast, and 1 was lunch, and 1 was dinner. But that's how we ate. Like, there was no
Frozen chicken cutlets, turkey burgers.
That's
with
when
beans.
That's when there was money. Chicken, yeah. But there was nothing, and there was that I found the dining room table on the side of a road, which was an old barrel that had somebody had nailed the top onto, and then 4 chairs made of barrels. But the barrel and the chairs were no more than 1.5 or 2 feet off the ground. It was horrible.
Sad.
And you know what the weirdest thing about this all is? Who lived in the apartment before you moved in?
Jack Giaraputo, the head of Adam Sandler's.
Oh, really?
So that apartment had some type of good luck to it.
But wait, here's another thing. So the guy used to get checks sent to me all the time, to the apartment all the time. Jack Giaraputo, and we didn't know who he was. So finally, he goes, Josh Wolf, those are checks. I'm like, I go, how do you know the checks? He goes, look, I know an envelope that's got a check in it. Those are checks. And I go, so? And he goes, well, let's open them up. Let's see what they are. And I was like, we can't open them. He goes, open one up. Open one up. So we opened one up, and it was for like $10,000. Because it was all, he was getting residuals from movie or whatever. And he was like, let's cash it. And I go, we're not cashing it. And their total, there was probably close to $32,000 in checks.
Oh, really?
So he was like, let's cash one of them. I'm like, we're not cashing it. I go, we're going to get in trouble. And he goes, Josh Wolf, if there were $32,000 worth of checks out there mailed somewhere, would you know where the fuck they are? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, this guy doesn't even know where his money is. Cash him.
He doesn't know. If he's not worried about $32,000, this guy's making cash, and he was.
He was making big
He
money.
blew up after Happy Madison and shit.
But there was no way. I was like, we're not
No,
cashing.
we're not going to cash no checks.
We thought
the
about it,
second
though.
story you guys have told. That
We pushed
ended
out.
with, no, let's not do
Well,
that.
because, to be honest, the drug dealer was mutual. The not cashing the checks. If
You
I had
saved
given
the
him
day.
that check, he might not have been able to, but he'd sure fucking tried.
Oh, I would have tried.
10
I would've
grand.
tried.
You know what 10 grand would have done then? I mean, 10 grand was months worth of money. Wow, we were catering at El Cholo. Stealing margaritas.
Stealing margaritas for that night. I remember one time they sent me by myself to a movie thing.
You went by yourself?
And I poured the grease. You sent me. You couldn't go. You had an audition. And you go, I'll give you my car. And I took the fucking, that was the time we went
Saturn.
to the Saturn. We went to Lake Havasu. And we left and we left the sunroof open.
But there was no air conditioning in the car. So it was either the car was hot. We were driving to Lake Havasu in the summer. Remember, I tried to we got really high, but the car was so hot. We get to Lake Havasu, and we're both really high, and my eyes were dried out because the windows were down because it was so hot. So I go to the glove compartment to get the Visine, and I crack the Visine, and I should have known better because it went. Tss. It was boiling hot. So when I put it in my eye, it was like someone stabbed a hot needle in my eye. And then they put me in that handicap room
With
where
the
you
shower.
couldn't stand up for the shower. You had to sit down like this, and they would shoot water at your chest.
Was this first show?
Yeah,
We
with
would
Dunkelman.
drive. We would drive on a Wednesday, right?
Wasn't it with Dunkelman?
It was me, you. That was one time when we went to ref the boat races. We didn't sleep all night.
Right.
Your cousin had a fucking party, and we went over there till 5, and we said, why go home? Let's drive to fucking Lake Havasu. We took 3 cars to Lake Havasu like savages. Like fucking everybody was hammered in the fucking car. We got down there. There was only one hotel room.
Yeah.
We all had to do the races. Then we each got like 120. We would drive to Lake Havasu for $300. and that was like gas. We would split nothing.
Gas, food, that was it.
That was it. We come home the same fucking night. You know these fucking stories. It's just amazing. But when we lived in Seattle, we used to work for Donna Richards. And Donna Richards used to have the Volcano Room in the 3 cities, Spokane, whatever. And she had a Mexican joint. But one of the places she had these Chinese restaurants called the, oh my God. And there was Eugene and Roseburg.
Yeah, Roseburg. Wait, that was me, you, and Lenny Schmidt.
So we go to Roseburg one night, and this town is one street. And it was a strip club across the street from the Chinese restaurant.
Now this is pre cell phones and all that stuff.
Nothing. And we're in there, and he tells a joke first about that. I didn't know there was retarded kids, handicapped kids in the fucking audience. This is what you have. So he told the joke about leaving a kid in the car with your windshield wipers on or something. And after the show, the lady comes up to me. Well, I said the joke, and he took the ear beating for it.
Yes.
So he's taking the ear beating all night. And finally, this girl comes up to me. She's like, your friend's cute. And I'm like, we could do something. We could fix him up. Tell the story.
So we were sitting there, and I go, hey, Joe, I'm going to use the bathroom. He's like, oh, okay. So I go into the bathroom. I come out, and I go up to the girl he was talking to. I'm like, where's Joe? And she goes, oh, no, he sold you. I go, what? She goes, yeah, he's gone. He sold you for a bag of weed. So, because he didn't have any money to buy weed, and he wanted some weed, so she said, I'll give you some weed for your friend. And he was like, deal. And he took my rental car and went back to the hotel.
But the best, it was his bed. It was his bed. So I get back to the hotel. I'm like, fuck that dude. I get in the bed. I got his pajamas on and shit. I'm laying down. I hear, open up. And it's him. The chick had tried to rape him and rip him apart
really
and shit.
Scary.
Really?
Yeah, she was. And then she took me back to her house because I was, and I didn't have any money either. Again, no cell phone, no way I can call. I didn't have any money I didn't know where the hotel was. Nothing. So she took me back to her house. At first, she was like, no, I'll drive you back. And when I get in the car, she just fucking, all of a sudden, I'm at her house. I'm like, shit. So I go in. I'm looking at phone book, trying to remember what hotel it was. And she's coming out in lingerie and shit. And you like this one? I'm like, oh my fucking God. I thought she was going to come out with somebody else's skin on. Like, it was scary. She was not good looking. And she was saying things like, listen, we don't have to fuck. You can just go down on me. I'm thinking, oh my God. I get me at it. So her roommate comes home with her boyfriend. And I stand up. And this, by the way, the girl who kidnapped me, not good looking at all. Looked like him with a wig. I mean, not like not good, okay?
Not good.
So the guy, he comes in and he's like, what's going on? And the girl's still coming out of lingerie, and I look at him. I go, I've never met you before, but I'm telling you right now, as a man. And I told him the situation, what happened, and I end up with this fucking beast. And as a man, you have got to drive me to the hotel. And he's like, oh. And his girlfriend, or the girl's roommate, goes, no, you know what? It's his problem. Let the two of them figure it out. And then the fucking Joe Diaz with a wig comes out in more lingerie and goes, what do you think? And he turns to me, he goes, I'm getting you out of here. I was like, fuck. Thank God. Because I would have never. We're driving back in silence. We didn't drive back in silence. I was just looking out the window like a rape victim. And I was, but you know what I mean?
She chased like a mile. Yeah. She ran after the car. Smoke was coming out of her feet and shit.
So.
That is awesome.
But get back to the hotel. He had smoked all the weed.
I'm in the room, fucking room service, fucking living like a doctor.
You and Lenny
And all of a sudden I'm hearing, and I'll never forget that we went down the wrong way. And it was like a scene from Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. Me and Lenny just hooked a left. And all of a sudden people going by, get out of the road. And I'm beeping, vote for me. And every time I see Lenny now, he always goes, Mr. Vote for me.
Yeah.
Because I see him in different auditions and stuff, you know.
Well, that was Lenny's favorite thing for a long time. When he was like, when he was telling me the story the next day, he was like, we're driving down the wrong side of the road at like 40 miles an hour. Cars zooming by me.
Oh, my God.
Joey's smiling, waving out the window, going, vote for me.
Oh, it's classic.
Vote for me.
You know, when I moved from Hollywood to North Hollywood this couple of years ago, you know, when you do comedy, how many fucking videotapes do you come up with? You come up with thousands. And you look at them and you're like, should I move these fucking things? And you're like, oh, I'll move them. And finally, someday you get a hold of good weed and it's raining out or something. Your car's in an auto body shop. And you go, you know what? Today's the day I'm going to watch these videos. And I started watching videos, and it was old episodes of The Sopranos and stupid commercials I had done and stuff. And I came upon your one-man show, which is one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. If you look at it now and see, it's a great thing if you don't know who you are. But I knew who you were, and I knew what you were going through. And to watch the show now, it's one of the most brilliant things I ever watched. And that really elevated you from that fucking apartment.
Yeah.
Then you moved up to the Hollywood Hills, and you started seeing pink elephants that night. And you got sick with the fucking meningitis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Scared the shit out of me. Called me. I thought he was fucking with me. Dog, I'm seeing things.
Oh, yeah. My crazy fever.
Crazy fever.
When you got there, I don't think I've ever physically collapsed like that, but I was just kind of holding it together for the kids. He got there, and I just started crying. Like I can't explain to you what that felt like. The meningitis was the worst because you and Gavin saw me behind El Compadre when I was still trying to pass it off as the flu. But I was walking and driving the kids around with like 104, 105 fever. And meningitis gives you a headache like you can't believe. But so when I finally called you, I was like, you gotta just get up here because I'm about to. And I was in the hospital for, I don't remember, like 5 days. It was bad.
Wow.
Yeah. That was my daughter has always loved Joey.
And I love her dearly.
Yeah. But she even said she doesn't remember much from that. But she was like, did Uncle Joey come up and stay with us for a couple of days? I'm like, yeah. He held down, like he went up to my house. They were not, listen, here was the thing. Like Joey and I didn't talk for a little while. And I, a lot of that, most of that was my fault. But there were nights where I would say, can you come babysit? And because, we were all doing our own thing, there were nights he wouldn't show up. But if you ever needed him, he was the first one there. So it was those trivial little things. But if you ever needed Joe, like I needed him for 3 days in my house. So he just was at my house for 3 days.
Taking showers. At that time, I was probably living in a car. But it's so weird how I was missing my daughter. And I moved in with Josh, and I discovered his daughter. And what I still remember is like how you cannot fuck with me when it comes to kids. Mm-hmm. Trevor, the oldest boy, took Caitlin and put her under a laundry basket and sat on top of a laundry basket. And I still think about this till this day, that I almost killed that little boy. Like, I don't like abuse with kids. And he didn't know what he was doing. He was just a kid, you know what I'm saying? He's like, because he would trick her. And it was hysterical. What brothers do to sisters?
Yeah.
You go down there first. Yeah. You know how it is. Yeah. I couldn't handle it. Like, I loved Caitlin. Caitlin was one of the funniest. Whenever I think of Caitlin, I remember Josh calling me over one day. He's like, dog, we got to stop cursing in front of Caitlin. And I go, why? And he goes, because we're driving down the street, and there was a bum with a cart. Caitlin at the time was in the back in a fucking car seat. And she would go everywhere with us. I mean, Caitlin, at that time, that's why she's so smart now, because she would go everywhere with us. And the bum was crossing the street, and Josh said something. He was like, fuck. And all of a sudden, she looks at him with her little carrot in her mouth, and she goes, Daddy, I can't wait till I get older and I can say fuck. I mean, these are the moments, and you're around this, I remember one night I was doing a set, and Gavin was watching the baby, and for some reason I go, they're not going to handle this fucking kid. I knew Jacob, and I knew the mother was heavy, but what do you call that kind of heaviness?
Voluptuous?
Voluptuous heavy, but she was warm. So the only other fat person that was warm was me. So when Josh wasn't around, the mother wasn't around, all I had to do was put Jacob's head on my chest, and he would pass the fuck out. Yeah. No matter if I was whacked or not, and he just got used to me. And I remember they would up there shaking him, because people would say, just shake him until he falls asleep. Don't shake him, hold on to him and let him feel your warmth. And it was just amazing that I had all this other craziness. But the only thing at that time that kept me sane were those fucking kids. A lot of people don't know that. They kept me, that family thing in the house when, you get the phone bill from Compton, and he was like, who's calling Compton?
My brother was arguing with me.
I don't call nobody. That was the joke. You're like, you know anybody in Compton? He's like, I don't know nobody in Compton. You only hang with black people. You're the only one that hangs with fucking black people. How would you fucking know nobody in Compton?
That is the best.
It was just, it always continued. There was this, no matter what we were going through. Last night I was on stage and I was telling people, sometimes when you have a lot of money and you go on vacation or something, it blows. You think back of the times that you went out at night with $1.50 in your pocket. You did blow, you stabbed a hooker, you know, you fucking fucked somebody up. You know, those are the best times.
If you could do us a big favor, if you go to the website, I'm going to get business out of the way right now, Joey. And if you see the Amazon banner, if you click through the Amazon banner, if you have anything you want to buy on Amazon, think about stopping by our website, because if you do click on that banner, we get like 1/10 of a penny off of whatever you purchase. You don't have to pay it. It's what Amazon will give us. So please think about that if you're going to buy something on Amazon. And also, we have a sponsor again.
And now for a word from your sponsor.
Get on it, Joey.
Old school,
bing,
dog.
bing.
And now for a word from our sponsor. Listen, for all your weird needs and cute needs, I got a bunch of stuff over at taintedvisionart.com. I just went on the page saying they had this little plush cush thing that you get, and they have the fucking sad devil. It's hysterical. So go on to new items. I also want to give a shout out to MZ Auto Body. Also my boys over at NOCC, the dispensary of death. You understand me? That's it.
Where is NOCC?
On 4854 Lancashire Boulevard. They're good people. I like those people. They got good weed for all your anxiety and all that shit.
Well, I have a glaucoma.
Yeah, everybody's got fucking glaucoma.
Everybody in this city's got
Everyone in
glaucoma.
You either got glaucoma or you're preventing glaucoma. You know what
I'm
saying?
doing
So
both.
prevention.
I'm doing both.
Man, I appreciate you coming and doing this with us.
Absolutely.
I watch you on Chelsea. There's nights it comes on like at 10, even if it's an old one, and I stop and I watch you. And I'm very proud of you, what you've done. You're a writer, and you know, and then you wrote an episode of Raising Hope that was on tonight.
Oh,
So your name was on, or you
wow.
wrote it with Garcia?
Yeah, I wrote it with him.
Good for you, man.
And I was on Chelsea tonight.
So you killed him 2 ways and shit. Look at you, you're a fucking savage.
Boom.
And tell him what name we gave your brother and shit. What's the name?
Fredo.
He's never
I'm
lost that name.
It should have been me, Mikey.
Mikey, when we called him Fredo the first time, he almost shit. Felicia, I know this is not, you know what I'm saying? I know we told stories and shit.
No,
We
I
didn't get
enjoyed the stories
through
a
to the
lot.
matter,
Yeah,
but,
no, the stories are awesome.
you know,
The
this is.
stories
I'm
are
happy
awesome.
that you're here. I'm happy you had a great time in San Antonio.
Yeah, San
You
Antonio
look
was
fucking
great.
beautiful and healthy.
Thank you very much.
And you're gonna knock him dead. You have the number for Madhouse?
I don't,
You'll
because I
post
don't
it
roll
on
like
Twitter.
that. Go to Madhouse
Thank you very
Comedy.
much, Josh Wolf. I love you.
Thank you
babe.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Felicia, give him a kiss. Give him a kiss, Josh Wolf. There you go.